I was reading something just today said that Gen X, Gen Z, millennials are working just as hard as the baby boomers, and they have mental health challenges because they don't have any hope.
Welcome to Profound Conversations, a dynamic broadcast platform focused on building healthy communities.
This episode of Profound Conversation centers on Aura Vasquez, a compelling person with a compelling journey, connecting her to work with in immigration and environmental justice and civic leadership with the rising threats of authoritarianism and the need for political engagement in Southern California and beyond. Welcome to Profound Conversations, the podcast where we engage in some of the most prophetic conversations about what's happening in the 21st century. I am Mwata Kayuri, and today we are exploring the intersection of immigration, environmental justice, and political engagement with one of Los Angeles's most compelling voices, Aura Vasquez. This person, this profound woman, Afro-Latina from Colombia, an immigrant, a fearless advocate, fighter for climate justice and for political uneasiness, right? The authoritarianism. She's challenging these things. She's challenging how people are being corralled and moved around. She's a person who has had a voice so loud and so strong that she has become the only Latina woman on the council for Koreans in Koreatown. I mean, that speaks volumes. She started this work as a 6-year-old with her father, moving around spaces in Colombia, and they decided that they needed to leave Cali, Colombia, to do some other work, and so they moved to the U.S. So her father, Jorge, a community leader himself, so she has this in her bloodstream, was a civic leader, and so she carries on that particular torch. And you say that your father told you something about your voice and how you should use your voice at all times. Welcome to Profound Conversation. Thank you for using your voice. And what did your dad tell you? What did your father tell you about your voice?
Wow, what a wonderful introduction. Thank you so much for such a warm introduction and for having me here. And, since a very young age, I come from a family of very strong women too, and imagine this is in Latin America, this is the 80s. I was born in the late 70s. This is the 80s, a very different time where still women were thought of, secondhand citizens. They didn't have a very strong role. And in those days, there's still a lot of women depend on men for survival. And, the roles, the masculine and feminine roles were very still patriarchal. But not for my dad in his own, in his own way. He didn't know that he was raising his very own feminists, at home. Both of my parents, I think if you call them right now, they're back home in Colombia. And if you ask them, how do you taught your daughter to be strong and a feminist? They'll probably be like, we never taught her any of that. They wouldn't even, because it was just something very natural that came, from them and from their example. So I remember going to meetings, community meetings with my dad, town hall, labor town halls and things like that back home. And I was one of the few kids running around playing, like many other Latino families. When you go to places, you go with your whole family. It was me, my brother, my whole family, being involved. And he will always ask me, he's like, well, I want to say something. What do you think about what we said? And little he knew that practice was what really, the foundation.
What do you think? Say something. Yes.
Say something. What do you think about what we said? What do you think?
Yes.
So just ask him something so simple.
Yes.
I have been in very high positions here in Los Angeles and globally. I had to host a lot of positions of leadership. And you have no idea how impactful is even today when someone in the room asks you, what do you think about this? Because sadly, in 2025, a lot of us women are still dealing with the legacy of patriarchy and
Mm.
misogyny, and still sitting in positions of power and not being asked what we think.
What do you think? What do you think? I mean, that's a liberating piece right along, right? For someone to ask you, what do you think? And then to listen for, which means I value what you think, which means then by extension, your father was saying, I value you. Because one of our greatest gifts, I say, that we have every day is to have a thought, right? And a thought leads us to a whole new reality. And so this is where you find yourself, right? And your story really is compelling, right? You were you came in the 90s, undocumented student in New York City. You were cleaning apartments by day. You studied political science at night, right? You remain an advocate throughout the entire process, and you had an internship with Congressman Elliot Engel, and then that's where you got exposed to how policy can empower or harm entire communities. This coupled with your family saying you have a voice has led you to this space where you find yourself right now. Talk about that experience. What was it like to be undocumented and studying political science and all of these things? And Congressman Engel, what was that like for you?
It's so interesting for me to revisit this very conversation with you right now as we see, our current administration sending people masked, looking for hardworking folks from our community all over the country to deport them, to deliver more than a political promise, to deliver an ideological promise, which is we have found the enemy. It's them against us. And we're delivering. We're sending them, the bad hombres, the
worst of the worst.
Exactly, the people that are coming to rape our women and take our resources, the same people that have anchor babies and take advantage of our resources and our services and our good hearts, and it's so interesting with revisiting this conversation because I personally benefited of so many policies that protected immigrants. We immigrated to New York City in the 90s. We didn't have a lot, but New York City had very good opportunities for immigrants like myself. I've soon enough became undocumented, and I was able to go to college there, and paid an in-state tuition because that was the policy in New York, and I was able to get an education and and become a professional because of those things. I will never forget that I was sitting in the counselor's office in college at one of the CUNY schools. I went to a City University of New York. And she said to me, she was kind of figuring out my income and where I live. And, at some point she asked me about my social security. She said, can you please tell me your social security? And I just looked at her very kind of blank, kind of like, oh, and she said, okay, let's just move on. And she kept going. It was not a real thing. And so these are the kind of policies and opportunities that a lot of us took advantage of that made our lives better.
Wow.
I paid taxes my whole life before I was able to adjust my status, paid taxes, and I never got a penny back. It's so infuriating when you hear people say, oh, those people come here to take advantage of the system. My brother called me not long ago and said, Aura, they say that they give immigrants now a check with $10,000. And I said, well, that must be new because when we came here, no one gave us anything.
Wow.
We had to work hard, day and night sometimes, to pay our bills, to contribute and sometimes just to live in the shadows and not get anything, back. So, I shared this story because some people think I'm the anomaly. Some people think that I'm like this special, Afro-Latina that came and made it. No, there's a lot of us. And there's a lot of us that have been contributing to this country, and unfortunately, we don't see the same appreciation right now with the current administration, for
Wow.
people like us.
That really has to be off-putting, right? You said that personally, your own narrative. You've been here, you have been grinding, you've done the work, and yet someone says that they are here, they're the worst of the worst. They're taking jobs, they're pariah in society. And you having to listen to that and say, no, that is not true.
Mhm.
Right? That's heavy, right? And so here you are. You are an activist. You're an advocate, right? So this ICE phenomena has to be something really uh, uh, upsetting for you. But Oda, you moved to Los Angeles and you were elected to, because of your voice, Wilshire Center, Koreatown Neighborhood Council,
Absolutely.
and you were the only Latina non-Korean member.
Yeah. In 2012, I became the only Latina, probably one of the youngest, serving in that board. And maybe for folks that are new to this, or never have never heard of this, in Los Angeles, each neighborhood or each area in a neighborhood has a community representative that advise the city councils and the city on the needs that the community has. So I became elected. And in those days, little I knew that actually 45% of the people living in Koreatown were Latinos. The
Mm,
Koreatown has historically held a very immigrant Korean history, but the majority of the people now living there are Latinos because, through mobility, Koreans have, also gone to school, have
mm,
jobs, got a better lives because small business owners, and
mm,
they have moved to other places. So for me, it was a really incredible experience to just learn about the culture, learn about the history, and also learn about the priorities.
mm,
The priorities that communities had, and
mm,
they're not very far apart. We all want a safe neighborhood. We all want a clean
mm.
neighborhood.
Neighborhood.
We want all to be able to walk around or take your dog on a walk, or have the kind of things and the kind of services that a city should provide. So very similar, in terms of what the community needed, but also the visibility also became very um
Mm.
palpable for me, how Koreatown wanted to remain just exclusively Korean, and in those days wasn't so open to have so much diversity
Whoa, in
and to also
2012.
embrace
Wow.
other cultures. Very
Wow.
territorial in its own way.
I mean, you mentioned uh, feminism. You mentioned if you mentioned patriarchal society, and now you going through this whole xenophobic moment, right? Where you people have that you're the alien foreigner in among the Koreans. That's heavy. But Oda, when you were there, you and still now, right? You fought against gentrification and predatory development, and calling out how real estate interests were displacing low income residents, and that seems like that's what was happening in that space for you. Is that true?
And it could, yeah, absolutely. It continues to happen. Like
Yeah.
I no longer live in Koreatown. I live in the adjacent, neighborhood now, but it's the same kind of outcry.
Mm.
And Los Angeles is constantly becoming more expensive to live here.
Yes,
It's
it is.
becoming a city for rich people.
Mm-hmm.
Very soon there's not going to be any middle class here, even,
Mm.
because it's just costly. And at the federal level, we see all these kind of every day is something new, but what we
Mm.
don't see is them helping lower the cost of living, or lower the cost of food,
Mm.
or lower the cost of rent.
Right, right,
We
right.
have become very enamored with a lot of the flashy things and news that come from the White House and the federal government, but we don't we're not really addressing very basic needs that people have.
Mm-hmm.
Is having a roof over their head, you know, living in a safe environment, have been able to pay for their food, and not just that, but we have a whole generation that does not know if they're going to be able to pay for a home, to buy a home,
Wow.
or to pay for retirement. And we're leaving them a very polluted environment,
Hmm. Hmm.
also in a way. And and we they're full of debt. So these are the future generations. These are the generations coming, that are that really don't see a way out.
Right.
But these issues have not gone better. And as much as we see the headlines, nationally, I just don't see we addressing the real needs of everyday people.
I was reading something just today said that Gen X, Gen Z, millennials are working just as hard as the baby boomers, and they have mental health challenges because they don't have any hope. I'm
Mhm.
working hard, but I still don't have any hope to get out of this. And this is exactly what you just described. That I'm still working hard, but I can't even see my way out of it because I'm so far in debt. And I
Mhm.
and so you're there as an advocate, right? Speaking truth to power, saying that things need to be done differently, and that is to be committed. And not only have you done your work in New York, and you went all over the other side of the coast to California, but you have gone with the Dakota at the Standing Rock because you
Yes,
mentioned that
very
you mentioned
important work.
you mentioned the environment, and so tell us about that work, right? What led you to go to be a part of Standing Rock?
Very important work, very intersectional between, indigenous rights and sovereignty, the right to clean water, divestment from fossil fuels. Who wouldn't thought that a pipeline will kind of breach all these spaces?
Mm.
But it did. The Dakota Access Pipeline was threatened to come, from Canada, and it was going to destroy a lot of the water source for a lot of indigenous folks in North Dakota. So, for us that have been doing this work on environmental justice for so long, we understood that this was not just a pipeline, that this was not just them polluting our water or their water specifically for that matter, but also it was violating years of treaties between native people, indigenous people of this country. And and in addition, it was not getting us to where we needed to be, which is a world that is free of pollution and free of fossil fuels,
Mm.
so that we can leave something to the millennial and to the Gen Z,
Yes,
to look forward to. So
that
that's why
yes.
we went to Standing Rock. That's why I went to Standing Rock. I went to stand in
Wow.
solidarity and to fight for a better world for myself, for my nephews, my niece, for future generations.
Wow.
And I learned a lot. I think it was absolutely transformative time. For me as an organizer, as a community leader, as a woman, to be there and to support this type of work.
So I mean, you stand against environmental colonialism, or someone talk about environmental racism.
Hmm.
You stand against uh, a lot of things, but you stand for people, right? You stand for
Yes.
people having a better way of life. How did you develop that particular passion to stand for people?
Well, I think it comes from a couple of different places. I think the fact that I always felt I had it a little better. And it wasn't better, but I just had it, think about it. I could be another statistic, a Latina
Hmm.
that never spoke English, for example, came here,
Hmm.
never spoke English. There are
Mm.
dozens of those, are there hundreds? As someone that, never finished college, high school, my parents in a lot of way, my mother was, that way, and not to um, diminish who they became, but this to say that this is the statistics of the American dream. This is what they think that this is this is who they think we are.
Hmm.
And in a way, I define all of that. I was like, no,
Yes.
I'm going to do what I
Right.
want. I'm going to travel the world too. And I'm going to also become the youngest commissioner for the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power, the largest public utility in the country. And I'm going to represent my community with honor. And I'm
Wow.
going to show up with those spaces with my accent
Hmm.
and my pearls and my
That's it.
colors.
That's it. Come on. You know,
You
I
know,
was, go ahead. I'm listening to you.
so
That's good.
I just, for me, I always felt intuitively that I had it, that I was able to get a little bit ahead, but I knew that not a lot of people had the opportunities that I had, and not a lot
Mm.
of people had the drive or the support, you know, it became very clear for me that I was more for people than for anything else.
Mm. And you believed in yourself, and you believed in the conviction of what you were standing up for. That's powerful. I mean, and I'm going back to Jorge saying, "What do you think?"
Yeah,
Wow.
my dad.
That I'm going back to that. Like, what do you think? It's like you haven't stopped thinking since. Now you have the right to think. I had a student one time who said, "Professor, I don't speak in class because I have an accent." And I said, "Well, do people talk the way I talk in where you from? Your home?" Says no. Says, so I have an accent to you, right? Well, yes. Well, I said we all have accents in this room, so let's just talk to one another, right? So it doesn't matter. We all have an accent, so let's just move forward with that. And so,
But that's the rhetoric, right? That is
yes, yes,
the rhetoric that, oh well, you're not American,
because
especially now,
you don't speak American, right?
because you don't have a certain way, or you don't look a
American.
certain way, or you don't
Hmm.
act. And we have been somewhat challenging those ideas. What is professionalism? What is being an American? What is,
Hmm.
a lot of ideas that people have. We still have a lot to go, but and I feel like it has been a huge miss opportunity right now, with the current administration.
Yes, yes.
But this is not our first rodeo. We're not going to stop now.
Mm-mm.
We got to keep going.
You believe this, and I want you to really hit this because you're talking about what's happening right now. That you say political engagement is the antidote to authoritarianism. Political
Mhm.
engagement, not running away from it, but engaging with the political engagement is antidote to authoritarianism, right? And it starts with community council, neighborhood walks. Speak to that. Speak to this your voice about political engagement. What do I do as a disenfranchised person? I'm a member of a population that's been despised. I've been put down upon, and I somehow need to believe in myself to be engaged. Talk to me. Get me engaged.
The most important thing that anyone can do right now is go and talk to your neighbor. Go talk
Mm-mm.
to your friends, and go with the intention of understanding and listening. And that's not always easy.
Mm.
We all have friends, boyfriends, family members, aunties. We all have people in our lives that don't see eye to eye with our own ideas or
Yes.
values. And more than ever, because of the current political environment, we need to just build relationship with these folks
Mm.
and learn how to agree to disagree in a lot of
Mm.
ways, and say,
Mhm.
I don't agree with you on this. I can see your point, because that's where
Mhm.
you're standing. The second thing to get engaged is, after you kind of find a few that
Neighbors.
side with you, that see the world the way you do, then you have to start doing the real internal work, because the first revolution is always internal. How
Mm.
can I be more engaged? How can I participate more? What am I doing in my current life, me personally, that I can change the way things are? You know, a lot of people run for Congress, and that's wonderful, or city council. I did, but you can change the world every day in your home. You
Mm.
can compose, you can buy food locally,
Mm.
you can use less plastic, you can vote, you can go on in court to show the people to vote. you can help register people to vote. Little things that can be really so impactful, And then the third thing is when you find your friends, you do your thing, you do that introspection, then we start understanding what's around us. What are the problems? What are the issues? Rent is too expensive. The sidewalk doesn't exist. We need one. We need to win the midterms. Whether it's that or that, Just start organizing. Organizing is not even planning. A lot of people come to me to organize events because they think that I'm an event planner. And I have to tell people I don't organize events. I'm an organizer. We have a strategy. We have a bigger thing that we're doing. We have an end result and a movement goal. We are building leaders and communities. We are transforming people's lives. And that's the power of
Wow.
talking to each other, working together.
Transforming lives, right? Transforming lives through our activism. So you said the first thing is that go talk to your neighbors, speak to one another. One of the things that happens in climates like this, we begin to lose touch with our neighbors. We begin to isolate ourselves. We begin to suffer in silence. And so you encourage us to move beyond the barriers that get set up in our own minds, that we feel not hopeless, but we begin to find hope in communicating with others. You said the second thing is that we have to engage in the revolution within, that the first revolution that we have to win is within ourselves. And that is when we begin to move beyond ourselves to be able to see that we are connected and that we have power. And then the last thing, the third thing, not the last thing, but the idea of organizing, understanding the issues that are happening right then, understanding what's going on, what's the what. The revolution is talking about voting and movement, but what's the what? Why are we even doing this in the first place? The sidewalks need fixing, the street lights, the children need a crosswalker to get them across the street. That is powerful. So I want to suggest right here, right now, that you have just given us the formula for political engagement, and that you've encouraged us to be the antidote, that which causes the healing to take place, that you remind us that we are good medicine, that we are the medicine. And I assure you that you are indeed powerful medicine. And there's so much more that we are going to explore with you, because things are steadily unfolding. We need to unfold the conversation around the LA housing crisis, or the ICE raids, and so forth and so on, the environmental challenges that are happening. There's so much stuff that we need to engage in. I mean, when we talk about the typhoons in certain places and the global warming, it's a lot here. But we're just going to close out right now by saying that we can all be agents of change, right? If we just simply stop and deal with the revolution within our own minds and begin to see ourselves as active agents of change, and remember that we have a thought to think. Just simply be creative and think it. Give us some closing words as we get ready to move on and get ready for our next conversation that we'll come back to, a second phase.
Absolutely. I hope that next time we get to talk more about organizing and how to be part of this transformation, this evolution that we all need to take part of. But what I want to leave people with is, we are facing very uncertain times, and we have to, there's no other choice. We need each other. So go out there and talk to even the people that you not so jazzed to talk about. And also build a really strong network of friends and people that you can rely on and that you can talk to and work together with, and have some fun, have some joy. And at a moment where you are told that you are not enough, at a moment where you're told that you're not enough, this is the moment with being who you are fully is exactly what we all need.
Wow.
So embrace yourself and have some joy too.
Wow. Know that you're more than enough. Wow. That is powerful. Aura Vasquez, one who is engaged in political activism. She is moving and making things happen, believing in herself, been taught to believe in herself, and she's activated that over her lifespan. She is a change agent in New York, a change agent in California, a change agent in North Dakota, a change agent in Cali, Colombia, a change agent. She's a global warrior for change, transforming lives, making people's lives better. She's indeed inspired us to be better, do better, and live better. And we want to keep profound conversations going. So we need you to check in with us and figure out how you can contribute to us. But before we do that, Auda, how can people check in with you and stay and follow with you and be in touch with you?
Yeah, you can follow my journey and what I'm up to through my social media. It's Aura Vasquez Official. Send a message if anything that you heard resonates with you and in your heart. Reach out and let me know how these profound conversations have touched you.
Reach out to her, Auda, and share this with other people, and share with us also some contributions and with her, because the work that she does is not free. It takes its cost to make these things happen. Let's share with one another, neighbor to neighbor. This is Profound Conversations. I am Awata Kairi Sankara, also known as Kevin Washington, and it's been a pleasure and a joy to speak with one of the most prolific movers and shakers that has ever walked the planet, Aura Vasquez.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining our Profound Conversation. If you found this episode helpful, please subscribe to our podcast and then gift this information to a friend or family member using the share button. You can find our show on all social media platforms as well as on our website at profoundconvos.com.